Hey, folks. Well, I don't even know how to start this review. This movie, guys. Again, I don't even know how to start. I normally have like a life lesson or something interesting to say in the beginning of these reviews, but for this movie, I just have to jump right into it. I just got done seeing the Odyssey. I saw it in Regal RPX, so I wasn't able to see it in IMAX because I would have to book a hotel and go somewhere far away to see it in IMAX. So I saw it in Regal RPX. It was still good. I still think the RPX is a good format. I know you don't get quite as tall as the IMAX screen, but you know a lot of the movies that I see in Regal RPX, they are the widescreen movies, and so you still have kind of the dark at the top and bottom. But because this was filmed in IMAX, it did fill the entire RPX screen, which is a bigger screen than normal, I think, and so it still was a pretty cool experience. Also, the audio in there was awesome. So I got to see it in Regal RPX today. What can I even say, guys? This movie is more than a movie. When I walked out of this film to drive home, I didn't really think about anything for like 10 minutes. It was just like quiet, just after that 3 hours of Christopher Nolan, there's not a lot you really can think about. You have to ease yourself back into regular life after watching a 3-hour Christopher Nolan movie. But let me tell you guys, like I said, this may be Christopher Nolan's best movie. And let me tell you why. I like Chris Nolan movies. I like Inception. I like Interstellar. I like the Batman movies. I like Dunkirk. You know, these are all good movies. But a lot of times, Christopher Nolan, if you have criticisms of Christopher Nolan, the criticisms are that sometimes while he's known for these amazing IMAX shots and amazing, set pieces, he's also known for having very, very confusing stories with oftentimes timelines that are differing in flashbacks and flash forwards and foreshadowing and so on and so forth that can be a little bit tough to follow. I mentioned Inception. If you watch Inception and you don't pay attention to that screen carefully for the entire movie, you're going to miss something in Inception. You're going to miss a key detail. And so you're going to have to rewind it to then go back and catch that detail. In Dunkirk is another example of this, where there's not a lot of dialogue in Dunkirk. A lot of it, I think, is shot in IMAX. Again, it's a lot of battle and war scenes, if you've seen it. But he plays with time, and so you'll see, like, a plane go down, and then you'll see that plane go down again later because he's doing it from a different perspective, but you're not quite sure exactly which plane it is. You're not sure, So it's a little bit confusing. He's kind of known for this confusing storytelling. And the reason that I think the Odyssey might be Christopher Nolan's best movie is I think it's the easiest to understand. I think it has, the whole thing was shot in 70 millimeter IMAX film. It's beautiful. It's tall. It's not widescreen. It's a little bit taller. And so you can see a lot more. He's got these amazing vistas and what he's known for. These awesome water shots with the ship and battle scenes and just the vistas that he gets are amazing, and he's known for that. I mean, if you've seen Dunkirk and some of these movies, you've seen kind of his art with the camera. But what I think he does so well here is he does that, but then he also tells a story in a way that I could understand, and you didn't have to be glued in, focused in the entire time to understand what was happening. And he still used time movement, like he always does in all of his movies. But he does an excellent job in the Odyssey of when he is flashing back in time, he's having a character talk about what happened while he's showing you the flashback on the screen. So you don't have to constantly be, racking your brain around, wait a minute, where on the timeline am I here? It's like, no, this movie does a great job. And he's probably learned from the feedback from Dunkirk and from Inception and some of these movies that are very difficult to understand. I think this movie is very approachable. It is 3 hours. I mean, you're going to be in it for the long haul. It's going to take you a day to see it, right? You're going to have to drive and see 3 hours and come back. But it's an experience that I think anybody can get through, can understand, and can appreciate, because I think the story is his most palatable with regards to complexity. So that may be why this is Chris Nolan's best work. Now, are there confusing pieces? There are times. There are times where, he might go on a little bit too long in the middle of the film. But I think of the Odyssey as kind of a roller coaster, right? You get these big scenes, and then you kind of see the characters in these relationships. And then another big scene, and then you see their reaction to that. It's a roller coaster of heightened engagement, and then kind of dropped down a little bit into more of a lull. And so, yeah, were there some parts that were a little confusing? Sure. Were there some parts that were a little bit slower in the middle of the film? Sure. But every movie's got some of those things. I think overall this movie is an excellent product. Let's talk about the actors real quick. The cast in this movie is unbelievable. You have Matt Damon as Odysseus. Robert Pattinson is in this movie. Of course, you have Tom Holland as Odysseus' son. Spider-Man, Tom Holland. Zendaya is in this, as well as Anne Hathaway as Penelope, who is Odysseus' wife, the queen, so to speak. And, man, there wasn't a bad acting job in this movie. I thought everyone's performances were amazing. I'm not going to start with Matt Damon. I'm going to start with Anne Hathaway. Because Anne Hathaway, to me, whenever she's in a movie, she commands the camera. She commands the viewer. Even in the scenes when Matt Damon and Anne Hathaway are together in the same space, you can't help but focus on Anne Hathaway. Her emotion as a grieving queen who longs for Odysseus throughout this movie is just perfectly done. Like I said, every time she's on screen, she captivates it, and she's this. You feel for her, because she really acts well this part of just being distraught and loving her husband and wanting him back in her life, and this feeling of longing over time. I mean, you're talking years and years and years without him. And she portrays that character very well, and that part of missing Odysseus. Matt Damon plays probably 8 different parts in this movie. Matt Damon goes from being a loving husband to a warrior and a leader, and then someone who's lost their way, doesn't understand what they believe, fighting against the gods, loses his mind for a little while, and then eventually comes back. It's a masterful performance from Damon. When you talk about, a couple weeks ago, I talked about Emily Blunt in Disclosure Day playing a bunch of different parts. This performance from Matt Damon is probably better than that. I mean, he is doing so many things in this movie, and even when he is, and it's amazing because Odysseus is the main character, but there are so many scenes too when he's in the background. And he's not the main character, but he does this interchange so well between being out front and being in the background. So, again, excellent performance from Matt Damon. Tom Holland, probably not my favorite role for him. I can't help but see him as Spider-Man. I think some in the beginning of this movie was a little awkward in the way he was handling being the son, and kind of... It was a little bit awkward for him in the beginning. I think he got better as the movie went on, as he was able to take on a more serious role and helping Odysseus later in the movie. I think he gets better. It wasn't a bad performance. I just don't think it's his best role, probably, but still an excellent performance. And then Zendaya has a limited role, but in typical Christopher Nolan fashion, you see a great arc with Zendaya towards the end, and kind of a full circle moment that is a really cool. And I think her casting is good here. I think it's a great spot for her. Yeah. So great cast. I mean, excellent cast. Yeah. What is there to say, guys? I mean, it's filmed in IMAX. The visuals are stunning. I, of course, had never read the Odyssey. I'm sure most people who watch this movie will not have read the Odyssey. And so the story was exciting. I thought it was interesting what happens to Odysseus, and as he's trying to get back. And everybody's heard of the Trojan horse and stuff, but you don't really understand what the story is, and it is so much deeper of a story than just the Trojan horse. I had no idea that this was a story of regret, a story of fighting, against your nature, a story of trust and of longing. And I mean, there's every emotion in the book in this, and I think the best way to put it is every 30 minutes I felt a new emotion in this movie. I thought, oh my gosh, this also has this element. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling this. Like, I'm feeling this emotion in this movie that I didn't expect. And you start to unpack the character of Odysseus in a way that is so natural throughout this entire film. And man, Christopher Nolan just knocked that out of the park. That's why I'm saying, Christopher Nolan normally gets a lot of flack for his stories, but I think this one is told well. It's rushed a little bit in the beginning, and that's typical for Nolan. If you remember in the beginning of Inception, they go really quickly at explaining what they're doing when they're jumping into the dreams, and that can be overwhelming. There's a little bit of that here right away when you start. But the movie's long enough, and it has enough time to where you understand what's going on. You don't need to have a PhD in the Odyssey to be able to follow along with this movie like you might in some other Christopher Nolan movies. And again, I think that's why maybe this is his best movie yet. So, I was blown away. It's an experience. If you can see it in a premium theater, you please do. I will say, though, if you don't have one or you don't want to spend the money for one, just go to the normal theater. Like, I'm not a huge fan of this discourse online around like, oh, you have to see it in IMAX or you shouldn't even see it, or like, I can't believe you're not seeing it in IMAX. I didn't see it in IMAX. It was awesome. Now, I saw it in RPX, but I'm probably going to go see it again in normal format. So don't feel like if you can only see this film in a normal movie theater that you shouldn't see it. You should definitely see it. No matter what format this movie is in, people need to see it. It's a fabulous work of art. It is a journey. It's emotional. It's got battle scenes. It's just there's so much to it, and so I hope you go see it. I think this is Christopher Nolan's best movie. After reflecting on it, I think this is it. I think this one beats the others for various reasons. It improves upon his other movies in a way that is just tremendously impressive, and I can't wait to see it again. In fact, I may go see it again tomorrow. Okay, so let's talk about scores. So, you know my scoring system. 5 is I want to see it again right now. 4 is a good movie, but maybe don't want to see it right now again. 3 is decent average. 2 is not my cup of tea. 1 is a bad movie. And 0 is what are we even making here? And so for the Odyssey, if you haven't figured out already, this movie is amazing. I liked about every piece of it. The Odyssey is a 5 out of 5. In fact, if I could see it again today, I would, but I don't think I can. I want to see it again this weekend another time, and probably another time after that. It's just, it's a 3-hour movie that you don't realize is 3 hours because you're locked in the whole time. And so I hope you get a chance to go see Christopher Nolan's masterpiece here, The Odyssey, no matter what format that you can. Thanks so much for watching this review. I guess I didn't showcase the brew. The brew was Kona Big Wave today, so that was the brew for this Brews and Reviews. I was so excited about the movie, I didn't even get to the brew. All right, guys, you guys have a good weekend, and I hope you go see the movie. Thanks.